All right, good morning to you. It is the September 1st, Thursday edition of the Carolina Weather Video. A whole lot to talk about. We're going to focus primarily on Hermine and its rain and wind impacts here across the southeast as we move through the next couple of days. First of all, real quick, yesterday another hot day for many in the region, including the Carolinas. A lot of 90-degree plus high temperatures once again yesterday around the Triad viewing area, low 90s in most spots, low and some mid 90s around the Charlotte viewing area too. But let's get right into what's happening now. First of all, temperatures this morning warm. It is again muggy out there, dew points quite high. But the big topic of conversation is definitely Hermine. So let's get right into your tropical update here. Gaston hurricane out in the Atlantic pulling away. Tropical depression 8 out in the Atlantic and pulling away. So let's focus on Hermine here in the Gulf of Mexico. It is still somewhat of a lopsided tropical storm, rather. The center of circulation right on the western edge of this really deep convection, that deep thunderstorm activity down there in the Gulf of Mexico. But the latest reconnaissance flight I noted on the vortex data message that the spiral bands are rotating into the center. And so this system is continuing to try to organize. It is a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm as of the 5 a.m. advisory today, centered about 250 miles south-southwest of Apalachicola. Hermine still stands a decent chance of becoming a hurricane just prior to landfall, and that landfall will occur tonight along the Florida coast. From there, the northeast track continues. Now, how far inland in the Carolinas this tracks will play a big role in determining how much rain makes it up into the Piedmont. I'll show you more on that in just a moment. In general, though, I think you're looking at a track close to I-95 over toward Highway 17 up there through the eastern parts of the Carolinas. And then out to sea it will go from there and kind of stalls out off the northeast coast late in the forecast period as it becomes an extratropical cyclone. All right, watches and warnings. You have hurricane warnings up for parts of the Florida Panhandle region. That's the purple shaded area surrounding that tropical storm warnings. And then also notice on the Atlantic side, North Florida, all the Georgia coast, and a good chunk of the South Carolina coast up to roughly Charleston under tropical storm warnings as well as Hermine continues that northeasterly track. So let's talk about wind. Now, this is futurecast, and of course, this will obviously be dependent on the exact track the system takes. It is a little bit more westerly with the track. It has been the last couple of model cycles, but you get the idea. These are sustained winds upwards of 50 and 60 miles per hour in the Florida Panhandle region close to the track of Hermine, and a broad area of tropical storm force winds, these winds 40 plus miles per hour surrounding that. Now, we get into the day tomorrow. Let's look at the effects for the Carolina coast. This is an onshore flow, generally speaking, so we shouldn't have a whole lot of we shouldn't have a whole lot of issues with destructive winds, but there could certainly be some flooding with higher than normal tides and that onshore flow as this lifts further to the northeast. And you're talking winds probably generally 30 to 50 miles per hour for a lot of the coast as we go through the day tomorrow. And there will be an inherent risk of some spin-up tornadoes too. Now let's talk about the interior parts of North Carolina. This would be later tomorrow and tomorrow night into Saturday morning. Wind, not a huge problem, but certainly could see some 20, 30, maybe 40 mile per hour wind gusts as Hermine continues to move north. And generally the winds will be for the I-85 corridor out of the north and northeast. Now let's shift gears and talk about rain. Not much happening in the Carolinas this morning. Now, this little band of showers in Kentucky and West Virginia, that's with a cold front. And that will spark some scattered storms this afternoon. But here's all the rain with Hermine still down here in the Gulf of Mexico and into Florida. So let's look at today. Today's weather player here in the Carolinas is this cold front. As that front moves in, we'll have scattered thunderstorms. Here's the high resolution modeling showing you that scattering of thunderstorms this afternoon and kind of tapering off this evening. Thereafter, Hermine becomes the main weather player. How far inland it tracks and how much of the rain kind of shifts and transitions to the left side of the track of the system will determine how much rain we see in the interior Carolinas. This is futurecast. This is 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. And then as we get into tomorrow night, you see that heavy rain cranking relatively far inland in the Carolinas. Temperatures definitely held down tomorrow. It's a day with 70s at best for highs with clouds and some rain spreading in. Now Saturday, the rain exits Now, the Futurecast modeling is slower than most other models in clearing this out. I'll show you that here in just a second. Let me show you Futurecast rain totals. And again, remember, it's more of the westerly track, and so you get some of the heavier totals further west on this model than some of the other models. So again, keep that in mind. Now, here's the GFS computer model rain totals, and then the European model. And I think the European model might be a nice compromise and a good way to kind of lean our forecast. The best opportunities for heavy rain, roughly Interstate 85 and points south and east. Let me show you some other models here, and then I'll get into some other aspects of the forecast. First of all, here's the Canadian track. All right, so this is the landfall occurring tonight along the Florida coast. From there comes the system into Georgia. And it, too, is kind of in line with the Futurecast modeling, with that heavier rain making it further inland. So here are the rain totals from the Canadian, and it is very, very aggressive, 6 and 7 inches plus around Charlotte over toward Raleigh. And then the totals taper off to 3 inches in the Triad and further north than there. So it's it's a fine line, okay? I mean, it depends on exactly where that center tracks and how much that rain makes it to the west side of the track. Again, take, for instance, the GFS. There's the broad view. You kind of focus around the Charlotte metro and notice the GFS is less than an inch of rain in Charlotte, less than a half inch in Greensboro. And that's a possibility. There'll be a very sharp gradient of rainfall. I'll say this. For the Interstate 95 corridor, this is a heavy rain event. And you're probably looking at 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. But more for Interstate 85, it's a question mark still. Maybe broad brush it and say an inch of rain or so for Interstate 85, but it could be a whole lot more, or it could even be less, depending on the specifics of how that rain shield with Hermine behaves. Speaking of Hermine, there's a nice early morning satellite loop of Hermine down there in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, speaking of the GFS, let me step you through that. Here we are today with your scattered thunderstorms, and then we get into tomorrow evening, and again, there's the center of Hermine on the GFS near Myrtle Beach. And then from there's a focused up, close-in view rather on the Carolinas. And then from there it goes out to the Outer Banks, rain pulling away. This is daybreak Saturday. The rain's already exiting, and by Saturday afternoon, we're in really good shape. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all rain-free next week. And we will still have, by the way, very low humidity by later Saturday afternoon. Sunday and Monday look to feature full sunshine with low humidity and highs in the 80s. So, again, a lot of the holiday weekend still looks very, very nice overall. So that's kind of the things we're watching here, and still some variables. I wish I could be a little bit more specific with the rain totals for places like Charlotte and Greensboro, but it's really right on the line, I think, with the heaviest rain being a little bit off to the southeast and the lighter totals to the northwest, and it could go either way for the I-85 corridor. So we'll keep refining the forecasts and keep you up to date. And, of course, remember all the details for you on television, and we'll be live as the event unfolds tomorrow and tomorrow night all across the state on Time Warner Cable News. All right, that's it for the latest edition of the video. Thank you for watching. Everybody have a great day, and God bless.